And
Yeah.
I can tell you, just from the vibes of this conversation, you're gonna hate IB, bro. You're gonna Today we have a very special guest episode where Ryosuke and I are holding a career advice session with a viewer. And Aoi, he dropped out of Waseda to go to a US university, and now he's just secured an offer from the Boston office at MBB in the US. And we love the chat so much that we're turning it into episode and we're sharing it with you guys. So without further ado, let's dive in.
So, Oi, what questions do you got for us? Fire away.
Mainly because I currently go to school in the US, but I do want to end up working in Japan after graduation. How do you think somebody who's in their sophomore year right now should prepare for like IBD in Japan if it like transcends from the US to Japan? It's like my first question for you.
Honestly, the depth of work that you get as a junior in the States is just incomparable to what you get in Japan. The amount of responsibility you get from day one. And it really shows in the recruiting process. Like to get an offer at a Japanese IBD, it doesn't take a lot of technical knowledge. They're mostly doing like a potential sayo. They test whether you have good vibes, whether you have the raw intellectual horsepower and the willingness and the right motivations. But like they're like, we'll teach you on the job. We don't expect you to know anything. In the US, you need to come in knowing finance. Like I think the best undergraduate students at like these top banks in the US, they know better than most MBA students. Like, and
I
they are
agree. I
far
agree.
smarter and more capable than a lot of like people who've been working for a few years. If you have the ability to start your career in New York, there's very few downsides in doing that because you can always, in every aspect of learning the local side of the business, as well as creating your network in finance in Japan, you could always do that when you go back, and it's not too late, in my opinion.
The career centric thinking, yes, I agree with Tony. I think US just has it better. I mean, it's the headquarter. It's a bigger financial hub compared to Japan. Even compared to any Asian probably city, even Singapore. So that is the center of excellence, if you may, of the finance like institutes, right, all over the world. Like if you just look at I guess the office level, like Tokyo's got Goldman Sachs has like its own elevator in Roppongi Hiruzu, but JP Morgan has its own building in New York, right? Like that's like how different it is, like in the level of like expenditure and like attention that it's getting.
Okay, I'll just add one more thing.
Okay.
Another thing
Yeah.
is when you join a Japanese organization as a junior, your superiors are going to assume that like they know in every aspect of life at work, they're going to know more than you and they expect you to follow. And that's generally true. And they can think rightfully so. But the thing is, if you come to Japan with like a couple of years of work experience in the US, even if they're more senior than you, they're going to treat you with like a little bit of modicum of respect because they know like, oh, you've experienced something different from me that like I actually aspire to some degree. And they're going to and they're going to assume that you have something to add to the conversation. And that creates to me like a fundamentally different dynamic of working together with a superior. And I think that's what I felt throughout my career sometimes when like if my career is a little different from yours, I'm going to like not treat you, even if I'm above you, as a complete like subordinate, right? I'm going to be like, you might have a different perspective, and I'm interested in that. And so I think creating that wedge really helps navigate hierarchical societies.
Yeah, that's interesting
All right.
because like when you
Yeah.
guys were like talking about MBB for consulting, and I was just like wondering like I understand that people apply to like when they apply to like consulting, they apply to like many firms, but like how do you like choose a firm, right? Because like it's you don't really know from the outside. Like
Mhm.
how did you
Yeah.
guys choose your firms?
To be brutally honest, I actually of the MBBs, I only got an offer from Bain. So in that sense, I didn't really have a choice. That being said, I did talk to people from BCG, Bain, McKinsey, and Bain people are more a little fratty, broy, yoka. And the BCG is a little more like plain, like yutose kind of like good people, but not edgy, like round in a good way. And McKinsey is more like, academia, sometimes snobby, like very smart, etc. And then I just vibe with the more fratty, outgoing people, which is probably the reason why I actually got the offer from Bain.
And when it comes to culture, I think Ryosuke is on point. It is vibes, but I don't want to undersell it by calling it vibe. I had an offer from McKinsey, MBCG, then I interned at Bain as an ACI in Tokyo. So I kind of know all the three firms somewhat intimately. And I was torn between McKinsey and BCG at the end for full time. And McKinsey, I still remember I got invited to the cell dinner. and like people were kind of drunk. Like they like the partners, including like the McKinsey side of people, were like pretty pretty drunk at that point. And then I remember this one partner sat me down. He's like, Tony, I know you're like deciding between McKinsey and BCG, and he was like,ぶっちゃけコンサルがMcKinseyだよね. I was like, the fuck? And he said it with like this arrogance that it just turned me off like right there. And that's when I knew for sure that I wasn't going to work at this firm, because whatever Kool-Aid they're drinking, I didn't want any of it. Because I knew it was going to get to my head if I joined the firm, right? And also finance recruiting, there's some nuance. Like consulting wise, it's pretty homogenous in the way that like each office of a consulting firm has its culture and it's pretty consistent, and you know what you're getting with some variation by people. But in IB or in finance, the teams are much smaller, and you're stuck with that team. And so even if you're going to the same bank, let's say you're going to JP Morgan. JP Morgan M&A has a very, very different culture from JP Morgan Industrials. They're like two completely different organizations when it comes to the people and how they work. Even small things like how tired they look or the way they talk, whether they have food stains on like their collar or something. I don't know. Like these little things are like, you have to be very detail oriented and look out for yourself. But the good thing about it is like internships are fine. Like as long as you get into a top tier internship, and even if you don't like the team, it'll usually be a good segue into a great full-time offer where you'll be able to like make a better decision on where you ultimately want to go. So for finance internships, if you're still interested, cast a wide net. However, do not let that have you compromise for the quality of the research and the prep you do for them. So cast as a wide net as you can be responsible for, because I don't want it to backfire on you where like you spread yourself too thin and you come across as half-assed on all these interviews.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Because like, how do you like recommend like preparing for like these like technical interviews and stuff? And because I don't know like the Japanese like, finance interview framework. Like I don't know if you know it, but yeah.
Bro, I was so nervous about that when I was applying. So during MBA, I was interviewing for a few Japanese banks as well as PE firms. PE firms, dude, like I was like, okay, I'm just gonna take my knowledge of US 400 question technicals and then just like be able to talk about it in Japanese. I did not get asked a single finance question in all of my interviews. I was like, what are you hiring me based on? Not a single literal question was asked to me. Yeah. These are like top tier bulge bracket. They were like, why do you want to do banking? Why Japan? Tell me about a time you. And I was like, what am I like? What is this interview about? So it's more about like the rationale of why you want to do that career, which I think is valuable, and you should have some deep thoughts about that before you go into the interviews. But the technical portion, honestly, they don't ask too much. And I think if you know the English stuff, let's say on the off chance they ask you a Japanese finance question, right? Just replace the nouns in English and just say the sentence in Japanese, and they will accept.
Then what would you recommend me to do for a month or something? Because like my first year summer, I did a FP&A intern at Gojo Company, which is a microfinance firm. And this year I'm going to be doing a internship at a VC. Next summer is like where I try to get like a quote unquote like chip so I could get a return offer. So yeah, what would you recommend I do?
So because we like this conversation with ours so much, we want to open up a couple more slots where Ryosuke and I will be providing a career advice session. To be a part of our program, please subscribe to our mailing list. We'll be sending out the next steps and the participation process. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hype our channel. I think I want to understand better what you want to do.
I think
because it'd be hard to give advice without knowing where your head's at. So what do you want to be doing in 5-10 years? Not in terms of specific jobs, but the type of work you want to be doing and type of impact you want to be having.
I would like to be working at a VC because of the story which I talked to you guys about, which was like efficiency and automation, and how like SMEs make up like a lot of the percentage of like companies in Japan. Work on solving like problems about like how like enterprise SaaS is too expensive and they have to have a data analyst in each team. And I want to be investing in like startups like that. So that's why I thought like I could technically like work at a startup in the US or something. And that's like not risky for me because I'm still a college student, but I could like also go into IBD and learn like that and use that as a pathway to go into VC. So that's like what I'm thinking about right now. I know some people who go into VC from like MBB too, so like I'm just confused.
What the path you're drawing right now to the end goal, it may not be the most efficient path. I think you're trying to get there using the roads that you know and you've seen, but it may not really be the most effective way to get to that state. And what I mean by this is bankers and consultants don't make great VCs. I think a lot of Japanese VCs come from that background, but it's because of the state of the ecosystem where like it's not because if you look at American VCs, the best VCs are former operators, former entrepreneurs. It's a whole different background, right? And if that is something you really want to do, then I would urge you to not be so fixated on IB or MBB as a career, as a bridge to VC, but it's like a no regret move that you can do just in case like your initial thesis doesn't pan out. There's a lot more helpful things that you can do other than those two careers to be a really good venture capitalist.
So I currently do work at a SME. I work at Base Food, and like it's interesting because like you look at like these like SMEs and they still use fax and stuff in Japan, which is like kind of like astonishing. And that's like the kind of like the perspective that I'm coming from, like working with them and like yeah, because it's interesting that like I'm like one of the few people on the team who can like really manage the data. Like that's like the first-hand experience which I got, and maybe like getting some of that experience in the US as well would make sense.
I mean, frankly, I think you should just try being a founder and actually working and trying to sell and try to see, because I think Ryosuke has a lot to say about this topic way more than I do, and like trying to get SMEs to use tools, right?
Yeah.
And if I were to provide prescriptive advice, MBB is optional. IB is totally not necessary if that's your main goal. And then like I would rather urge you to apply to Y Combinator or something and actually get that firsthand experience. But Ryosuke, what do you think?
Generally agree. And I think there's some clarification I think that would be helpful. So Japanese SME, if you're using Base Food as a representative of that, I think there's a fairly huge misgap there. Base Food has done like shikin chotatsu. So they're more not like a J-curve startup, but they are a startup. Like they have raised funds, right? And SMEs, well, like yes, categorically they're like small to mid-sized businesses, but startups versus like small to mid-sized businesses, especially in Japan, but also worldwide, are very largely different animals. They operate in different principle. They definition wise, they're different. The startups are supposed to give return to investors that invest in them early on within the time span of 10 years or so. And they're expected to grow like 100x. And it's do or die. SMEs, on the other hand, especially in Japan, they're a lot more sustainable, smaller, and long running, and then been in the business for decades, if not centuries. So the type of people who are there in there, like the principle that they kind of gather around is different. The economical model is different. So those are two very different things. It's probably most beneficial that you see someone who's doing that or trying that, either being on the SaaS end of it, who's doing something like that with a mission of I want to revitalize SME efficiency, or be an SME side who's doing that, or be one of the SMEs, either this side or this side yourself. The reality of that, at least from what I've seen, selling software to SMEs and also doing like robotics to like the very like local like kojo, like food factories and restaurants, it is drastically different from the world that you will see from top tier consulting or IBD firms. It's like those two people will probably never meet unless it's on the same accidental like train. They will never like speak a word in their like life level difference. So I think seeing that firsthand will be the best like sort of a shedding a light to where you'd be more interested in that field within this thesis.
One thing about venture capital is that like I got interested in venture capital because I thought I would be, helping this journey of like world-changing startups and whatever mission I was passionate about, right? And like that feels good. And like that's why I got really excited about it when I was in BCG making slides. Now, the reality of being a VC is that you're a capital allocator. You feel powerless if like there are no startups or founders doing what you imagine would be cool. And if there is one, then like, oh, can I actually have access to this person? Like, why would this one take my money? And this is a combination of what firm I work for. And is my firm cool enough for this founder to accept money? And am I cool enough for that person, for me to be the conduit of that firm? And for all those things to line up, it's incredibly difficult.
I've just always been in the headspace where like I'm just confused on what I should do. Like I have like
Yeah.
aspirations, but like again, like I am still like only 21, and you have like the Shinsetsu in Japan, so it's like should you go to a big firm, which might teach you quite a lot, and like go up like the stairs where like you're kind of set for life, but like it might not be too exciting, or like you just like go like head on into like a startup and you just do like crazy stuff, which you can only do when you're like 21. So it's just so confusing right now, and like so many things to prepare for because you have like college work, and then you have like,
Mm.
oh, do you have an internship lined up? Oh, you have to
Yeah.
recruit. It's like, God, yeah.
Two things I just want to quickly add on this. Taking a step back, how I view career is it's very changeable and fluid. Tony and I have had 5 jobs, 6 jobs, or something like
Yeah.
that, and we're like 33. So your first job, yes, it's important. The only time you can use the Shinsotsukai, etc. But at the same time, you can always change it. It's not that important. It's life changing, possibly, but it's not life determining decision. So think it take it seriously, but don't take it too seriously. Is how I view it. And second, as Tony brought up a good point on day to day activity. There's an element of the long term ambitious goal of this is what I want to do. That's the mission statement of your life or your career or company, right? And that's very important. You kind of want to have that so that you don't go too far off from where your center of jiku is. But at the same time, if you don't like your day-to-day job, what you actually do, it's going to be very hard. It's hard to go. You're not going to be enjoying your life very much. For me, that's thinking, brainstorming, talking to people, gathering new information, outputting in some way. So what I'm doing right now, YouTube stuff and learning AI, using AI, teaching people to use AI, that's very fun for me. What I don't enjoy day-to-day, even though it's pretty cool, is I'm pretty good with numbers. So I have a master in finance, but I also don't I don't know, what's it called? Kaike or financy stuff too much. I like hitting numbers and seeing the numbers, but I don't like doing the actual numbers by myself a lot. So if I were to be a financial analyst now, because I'm good at it and I can do it and it'll be perceivably good career, I would probably not be happy with my life right now. So day-to-day job, what you do in a verb level is very important. Not a noun. It's not I like soccer, therefore I should do something related to soccer. I like strategizing how we play soccer as a team. Then that should be what you be doing. Or if you like teaching other people who are not as good as you are, and I like teaching them how to play soccer, then that's probably what you would be enjoying more. So try to make it a verb, not a noun. But that day-to-day satisfaction on what you actually do is more important than you realize.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, just from the vibes of this conversation, you're gonna hate IB, bro.
I was just thinking about just applying because it sounds like a good first career. It sounds safe as well because it is low-key kind of scary to just join a startup. You could,
Yeah.
but you'd be you don't know if you're gonna be making money at all. So
Yeah.
it's rough.
I mean, arguably, just getting into YC or an accelerator and while building something, you get paid, you've raised money, that's why YC has now become this new waku of MBB, IB type of moratorium jinzai in a weird way today in America because people it's become so easy to raise money and for young people to try something.
So what would you do if you were me right now, this summer?
This coming summer?
Yeah, or just in general until graduation, what are some advices you have for me, with that mindset?
Go see what's really happening at the area that you're interested in. So if you can't get an intern, just go talk to people who's doing that as much as you can. And if you can, try to get an intern at either startup or SME that's doing well. And try to look for the ones that's actually doing well. This is another one of those a game where you have to aim for the top tier if you want to be the top tier kind of thing, because that gathers the A class people, and then as you go lower, it's B class, C class people, and you have a lot more to learn and eventually apply to the world if you learn from A tier. And the good thing about joining a startup, as opposed to founding your own one, is that later when you do want to found one, you have a lot of candidates who can found it with you. Because those are A-class people who are interested in that field, who maybe have same mindset as you, similar place as you. They want to do it one day, but they want to learn from the best. And they're just doing the shugyo kikan, which is like similar to what IB in consulting is, but like in the actual area that you're interested in. So in that aspect, if you're like the risk return ratio, more conservative option, then go look for a rising startup that's doing pretty well. Look at TechCrunch, look at all the media, how much they're raising, what kind of thing they're doing, and then figure out a way to find that work with them if possible. If not, talk to them.
When you went from Waseda to your current university, you've probably felt that the ambitious and inspirational peers that you've met imagine very different things in life. Like the ambitious people at Waseda are aspiring to be working at Goldman. The most ambitious people around you today are probably wanting to change the world. And they want to they're already gotten into YC or something. I don't know, or they got seed funding from Andreessen. You're still at a malleable state where it really you become malleable by the people that you surround yourself with. So that's why I have a bias to really spend a lot of time with the A-class people in the States, so that your way of thinking and your scale of ambition and your belief in yourself that you can actually do something in the world is calibrated at that level. And that spirit doesn't break later on in life once you set it when you're younger. So, because when you go back to Japan, it might be level set, and you don't need that today at age 21.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I'm gonna be doing a year next year at Harvard, so I think that'll be a good opportunity for me to meet people like that, because there's nothing to do here.
Squeeze in an internship somewhere. I think if you can get access to a VC internship in the US at a respectable size firm, that could also be good. And the way to get into a US VC firm is also very different from getting an internship in Japan. In Japan, you apply, you have a pretty resume, and you talk about your interest and your mission. They'll be like, oh yeah, please come work for us. In the US, you got to send them deal flow. You have to network with the partner and give the partner 5 deals every month or so. And the partner looks at the deal flow and is like, oh, this guy's kind of interesting. And that's when you get the interview, right? And so you're already doing the job before you actually go work for them. You'll really get a good feel for what the job requires and entails and how you're going to feel. Because if you go through the recruiting process, you're actually going to do the job indirectly that way.
And do you recommend an MBA?
Yeah. So Tony and I have a completely different thoughts or takes on this. I think what we're aligned on is that if you have a specific purpose or reasons why you want to go, then no matter the price point, it could be worth it. Those reasons are the immigration. So if you want to go back to the US, it's probably worth it. If you're really trying to get into banking or consulting, it's probably one of the greatest card to play. Mm-hmm. And if you just want to break from a career in a socially acceptable way, then this is probably one of the few options.
Those 3 are the no regret scenarios of doing MBA. And then any reasons other than that are there's a lot of ifs and buts attached and whether it's worth it or not.
At the end of the day, we're gonna die, so just make what makes you happy and what makes people around you happy, and that's fine. It's no pressure.
That's right there. Yeah.
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 I mean, you're studying that. You probably know more than I do, but
you're the deepest thinker out of all of us.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I get it. It's just I think about responsibilities and stuff. It's
yeah.
Am I gonna when am I gonna get married? Am I gonna have kids one day? Can I really be doing something like this? And you just think about so many things which you don't need to think about necessarily, but
yeah.
As a 21-year-old, I am just been thinking. Yeah.
No, I get you. I'm a massive overthinker too. I think about everything about anything in life, and it tires me sometimes. And it's part. It's I kind of do it. I guess probably for you too. We do it because it's fun. It's fun thinking about it.
Yeah, it is.
But you also
Great.
guess It's oh no, I totally get that, and 100% with you. But it also stresses us out because if we do think about it too much.
Yeah, and most things are kind of unreachable. We're kind of powerless. So I don't know. It's just anxiety sometimes.
Sure, and also just know that you're I think living life as a 21-year-old should be living. You're doing everything right. these are the thoughts you should be having. This is the pain you should be feeling, and this is the learning you should be having. So just
Right.
feel confident about the direction you're going right now, and enjoy parties and enjoy all the other experiences that college offers you at the same time.
Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah.
If you found this episode interesting and the advice we gave to Aoi, please check out our previous episode where we actually walk through our entire journey of how we transformed our careers by studying abroad in the US, and you can check in the link right here. Stay tuned!